Dead men tell no tales, but their ships speak volumes. Welcome to the Cursed Compass, where we explore the darkest maritime mysteries. If you're sailing the freezing waters of Maine's Casco Bay on a foggy night, you might see bone-white sails tearing through the mist. It moves silently, leaving no wake. For over 200 years, local fishermen have warned that seeing this phantom schooner is a reliable omen of death. The Dash was a physical vessel, launched from a Freeport yard in 1813. Decades before it entered Maine folklore, the Dash operated as the region's most successful and invincible privateer. American merchants at the time were desperate. British warships had strangled the Atlantic coast with brutal naval blockades, cutting off essential trade lines. To survive, they needed ships that could outrun the Royal Navy. The Porter brothers designed the Dash to do exactly that, a 223-ton topsail schooner engineered for unmatched speed. British ships used expensive copper to line their hulls and reduce drag. The Americans used a different tactic. At each port, the crew would tip the massive ship on its side to expose the wooden hull. This fluid dynamics diagram illustrates the physics of their solution. They coated the wood in a thick layer of soap and tallow. This makeshift wax treatment drastically reduced water resistance, allowing the ship to glide through the ocean with minimal friction. By 1814, the Dash was outfitted with cannons and a privateering commission. It captured 15 British vessels and, remarkably, never lost a single man in the process. This flawless record convinced the crew and the town of Freeport the Dash was truly untouchable. In January of 1815, the Dash prepared to leave Portland Harbor under the command of Captain John Porter. They were sailing out for a final mission, unaware that the Treaty of Ghent had already been signed in Europe. The war was officially over, but the message hadn't yet reached the Maine coast. Unaware of the peace, the Dash engaged in a playful race out to the open ocean against its sister ship, the Champlain. 2 days into the voyage, a brutal, freezing nor'easter swept across the water. The captain of the Champlain recognized the danger and retreated to the safety of the shore. The Dash pushed directly into the gale, its sails disappearing into the blinding snow and violent winds. After 15 voyages without a single loss, the crew's confidence in their vessel was absolute. They chose to bet their lives on the ship's legendary speed, sailing directly into a storm that their peers deemed unsurvivable. When the storm finally broke over the freezing George's banks, there was no sign of the vessel. No wreckage ever washed ashore, and no survivors were recovered. The ocean had swallowed the ship and its 60-man crew without leaving a trace. In Freeport, 60 families were left with no answers and no bodies to bury. This lack of physical evidence created a vacuum in the community. Without wreckage to mourn over, the town turned to legend to process the sudden, total loss of their men. Reports soon began to drift through the docks of a spectral ship returning from the depths, Casco Bay's version of the Flying Dutchman. The legend followed a specific pattern. The phantom ship only appeared when a descendant of one of the 60 lost crew members was nearing death. Locals began to view the Dash as a spectral ferryman, arriving from the Atlantic to call a loved one aboard for their final journey. This belief became a fixture of the region's culture, eventually immortalized by John Greenleaf Whittier in his 1866 poem, The Dead Ship of Harpswell. The legend gave the tragedy a sense of permanence. It offered a supernatural escort for the families left behind, turning a horrific maritime disaster into a generational comfort. Sightings of the ship continued well into the 20th century. In August of 1942, military radar picked up a mysterious contact in the bay. United States Navy and Coast Guard vessels pursued the target, only to watch a 19th century schooner vanish into the mist. Grieving families reported seeing the ship as recently as the 1970s, often hours before an unexpected death in the family. Scientists have proposed an atmospheric explanation. An optical illusion called fata morgana occurs when freezing air is trapped beneath warm air over the ocean. This thermal inversion bends light rays traveling across the water, projecting the image of a boat located miles beyond the horizon into the sky, creating a floating ghost.